You had been programmed. The ideas that went into your subconscious mind formed the conditioning. And the conditioning is referred to as paradigms. Paradigms are nothing but multitudes of habits. Now, let's think about this. What did the people earn? How much money did they earn in your neighborhood? I was born and raised in a very poor neighborhood. How many were born and raised in a poor neighborhood? Quite a few of us. I often say in our neighborhood, people never slept alone until after they got married. I mean, it was a busy place, you see. Okay? It's sinking in, you know. Takes a little while. Right? Now, but think about this. What are your religious convictions? You see? Do you know people that are born into a welfare area are going to grow up and live in welfare? Are there exceptions? The odd one. But most welfare recipients, third, fourth, fifth generation welfare recipients. It's kind of sad. Your paradigm controls you to an enormous degree. And you've got to break out of it. Now, the paradigm is going to dictate how you think. Now, play with this for a moment. You've got a power flowing into your consciousness. You can think anything you want. You can think any thought you want to think. If a person's paradigm has them earning $50,000 a year, do you think you're going to have difficulty getting them to believe that they can earn $50,000 a month? If a person's been raised to believe it's their paradigm that you've got to work hard if you're going to earn a lot of money. How many of you were taught you have to go to work and work hard if you're going to earn well? But you see, working's the worst way to earn money. I often mention, I did a TV show with Robin Leach a number of years ago. He has probably interviewed more wealthy people than anybody alive, and he told me the wealthiest people he knows, he's never seen them working. I have a friend of mine who's an actress on the West Coast, and I was talking to her one day. She was going over to Spain to shoot a commercial. They were giving her $1 million just to say boo, boo, boo in a commercial. $1 million. You see? Now, some people say that's not fair. No, it is. It really is. The money you earn is relative to the service that you render. Bing Crosby recorded a song in 1942. His family or his estate are still getting royalties from it. It's entertained millions of people for over half a century. That's worth a lot of money. It probably took them all of a couple of hours to record the song. You see? You're providing a lot of service. I don't know how many Reed's got in his downline, but what would you say are in Reed and Yvonne's downline?
How many?
Yeah.
Around 60,000.
Around 60,000. Now let's suppose only half of them are awake. That's a lot of people, isn't it? That's providing a lot of service, therefore they're worth a lot of money. You see? Now these are the things that we've got to start to think about. You become what you think about. You see? What do you think about? See, you can think anything you want. Most people keep thinking about the same things. Do you know why? They're thinking about what they're surrounded by. Their outside world's controlling them. What's holding people back? It's paradigms. That's what's holding people back. That's what's holding you back. That's what's got you stuck. And you've got to figure out how to break out of that old paradigm. Until we break out of it, that's what I broke out of way back in the early 60s. My income went from $4,000 to over $1 million a year. And I had absolutely no idea what happened. It took me 9 years to figure out what happened. It's so simple and it's so easy. Most people that are highly successful cannot articulate why they are. My life changed so dramatically, I wasn't satisfied with winning. I had to know why. And I have never stopped studying it. And I'll tell you one thing I've learned. If you want to receive more, you better give more. Yet you don't have to worry for 5 seconds of whether it's coming back. It'll come back. You just have to put it out. Put the good out. You'll say, but they don't understand. They don't have to understand. You're not dealing with them. You're dealing with the universe. You're dealing with spirit. Spirit operates perfectly. Spirit never expresses itself other than perfectly. It's like I said before, the problems we got are in our individual or collective ways of thinking. Now, Joel Barker said, if we ignore the power of paradigms to influence our judgment, we're going to put ourselves at risk when exploring the future. We are not here because we didn't have anything to do. I don't think you came all the way to Cincinnati because you had nothing to do. I think you came here because you had the hope of getting something that's going to enable you to do whatever you're doing better so that you can enjoy life and enjoy it in abundance, because that's the promise that we got years ago. Now, what are paradigms? Paradigms are nothing but a multitude of habits. Habits are very difficult to break out of. If you know how, you can do it. And get this, they are other people's habits. We inherited them. I talked about the environmental conditioning when you're a baby, but there's genetic conditioning. It goes way back for generations. That's why we look like our relatives. Now, paradigms influence our thinking. Paradigms also control what you do. Paradigms control what you do. Now, you have all kinds of knowledge in your consciousness, but that doesn't mean that you're going to make it happen. The conscious mind is loaded with information. There isn't a person in this room that doesn't know how to become a diamond. Every person in this room knows how to become a silver, and if you know how to become a silver, you know how to become a royal diamond. But you want to know something? If we wired everybody up to a polygraph, there's people in this room that really don't believe that they can become a diamond. Yet their intellect will tell them, yes, you can do it. But they don't really believe it. See, the polygraph doesn't measure your intellect. The polygraph measures your subconscious mind. That's the message they get. And there's people here that don't believe they can do it. Now, what you've got to do, you've got to get the belief to go from the conscious to the subconscious. You've got to figure out how to take all that knowledge you've got in your conscious mind and internalize it. There's a word called praxis. Praxis is the integration of belief with behavior. People say, I believe it, and their behavior would indicate they never heard of it. Okay? You see, school gave us valuable knowledge. However, school never taught us to alter our old paradigms. Therefore, we frequently do not do what we believe and already know how to do. Now, this is what we're working towards. I want you to let this represent X energy. The subconscious mind is programmed, and we're going to say it is programmed with X-type energy. That's your subconscious mind. That's mine. It's William's, it's Reed's, it's Yvonne's, it's Linda's, it's everybody's. That is the heart. Go way back. Solomon says, as a person thinketh in their heart, so are they. Not as they think in their consciousness. It's as they think in their heart. As they think deep in the subjective mind. The early Greeks referred to the subconscious mind as the heart. Now, if the subconscious mind has been programmed with X-type energy, when that power flows in, what do you think they're going to think? They're going to think X-type thoughts. And they're going to attract X-type people. We are attracted to people that are in harmony with us. That person is in bondage. I loved it when Kendall flashed that matrix concept. Was it Morpheus? He said, we are a prisoner of our mind. He's right. That's what keeps a person stuck at silver for 3 and 4 years. They're a prisoner of their own mind. They keep thinking they can't make it. Why does everybody go silver at the end of the month? Why do they do it the last 2 days? Why not the first 2 days? Why not the first week? Why don't you start a new paradigm? Say, well, Jesus, I never thought of that. Well, think of it. We are going to get a ball rolling through the 10,000 healthy millionaires that'll change this company like night and day. Now, you watch, it's going to happen. There will be 20,000 new wellness consultants a month being brought in just in North America. That's got nothing to do with Australia or Europe or anywhere else. 20,000 just here in North America. It'll happen just as sure as it's going to get dark tonight. You know why? Because I know it will. And you just need one person to know something. That's all you need to start. You see? And I know that you want it to happen, because if that happens, that's going to help your business, so you want it. If you want it, and I know it, you're going to listen to what I'm saying until you find out I'm lying. And you know I'm not lying, because when you hear the truth, you'll know it. Do you know why you hear the truth, you know it? I'll tell you why. You've often heard that. When you hear the truth, you know it. You've heard that many times, haven't you? I'm going to tell you why. Truth has to do with vibration. There's many ways of expressing the truth. Truth isn't just in the spoken word. I can say something to you and be thinking something else. The essence of your being is perfect. Let's go back to the radio concept again. There's a receiver. And when you send out a signal, it resonates with the receiver. And it takes it and fires it out on another vibration that you hear. Your ears operate on a certain frequency. When the signal's sent in here, you don't hear it. But the receiver picks it up. It resonates. It becomes one with, marries with the receiver. And it sends it out on another frequency that we call hearing. The truth is a vibration. It resonates with the essence of your being. You're a soul. It's perfect. And the truth resonates with the essence of you. It's like a spark in your being. And when the two of them come together, it sets up a conscious thing we call knowing. And you know it's the truth. You don't know why you know it's the truth. You just know it's the truth. That's why you know. You see? That's why when you hear the truth, you'll know it. Now, what I'm telling you, you know it's the truth. See? Now, why do people stay this way? Well, they don't know. There's only one problem. It's ignorance. That's the only problem we'll ever have. That's the only problem in the world. All the problems you hear in the Middle East and everything, it's all ignorance. We're better than them. They're better than us. It's all ignorance. We're all the same. There's only one mind. We're all an expression of the same mind. We're different colors, different sizes, different shapes. That's all surface stuff. You get past culture, we're all the same. We're all spiritual beings. See? Now, there's the person in bondage. And this is how a person starts to grow. You see, the X conditioning in the subconscious sets up X vibration, causes X-type results. So, somebody comes along and they give that person a Y-type idea. Now, I can come along and I can tell you, I can show you how to earn $1 million, Ann. I can tell you how to do that, you see? And Ann can listen to me and she can understand what I'm saying. She could go and repeat it to Grant. You see? You could do that. Because your intellect will grasp what I'm saying. You see? You're an intelligent being. And I'm using words that you can relate to because I'm speaking the same language as you're speaking. So as I share these words with you, you understand them. You understand them on an intellectual level. See? That doesn't mean you're going to change, though. Because the idea is just in your consciousness, and it's not your consciousness that's controlling you. It's your subconscious that's controlling you. You see? But we've got the idea there, and the person can understand the idea, but they don't know why they're not doing it. Well, here's the deal. You see, that's called reason. This is the terror barrier. Now, we back this up for a moment. We take that why idea, and we impress it upon the subconscious mind. Now, this is where we get the idea, I'm going to step out, and I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to stand up in front of everybody and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go diamond. I'm going to go royal diamond. I'm going silver. I'm going platinum this month. And they just about get sick. Why? Well, they've internalized the idea. And when they internalize the idea, they got to move ahead. And what crops up? The terror barrier crops up. They hit that terror barrier, and you know what happens? Worry, doubt, and fear hits. And when that hits, they go scooting on back to where they started out. And they say, you know, it's not such a bad place to be. I don't really need the big house anyway. You know, those cars are expensive to fix. Oh, Reed never says that. I mean, you see what happens? The second you impress that why idea upon the subconscious mind, all hell breaks loose. Now, you've got to understand this. It happens pretty fast. Your central nervous system would make the electrical system in a supercomputer look like an absolute toy. It really would. Now, when you really understand that that's what's happening, you can start to overcome it. Most people don't understand what's happening. The fear takes over, they get anxious, they just feel so uncomfortable with the idea. They say, I'm just not going to do it. I don't want to do it anyway. I never wanted to do it. I'm doing it because she made me do it. Yeah, the devil made me do it. Yeah, well, she's the devil in this case, you see. You know why you're all laughing? Because you can all relate to it. It's like the kid in school. Does the kid want to get A's? Absolutely, the kid wants to get A's. I don't want to get A's. Doesn't make any difference. You see? Well, that person's just not going to go anywhere, are they? Every time they go to act on the why idea, what is the why idea? Well, the why idea is go silver this month. The why idea is go gold. The why idea is buy that big house. I remember Mike DiMuccio. I'll tell this story now because he tells it anyway. But he and I were in Indianapolis. You were in Indianapolis then. We went down there. We were going to buy Indianapolis. And Mike had put an offer in on a house. Now, everything's relative. You see? I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I really didn't. And Mike's wandering around, he's in a sweat, and he doesn't know whether he should do it or not. And I said, what's the problem? I said, go and buy it. I told him, I said, quite frankly, Mike, I thought you'd be buying a bigger house than that. You see? I've often talked to people that are going to change everything because they think they can't afford it. I said, get out of here. Just absolutely refuse to go backwards. There's no need of going. Why would we go backwards? That's why. That's why we're scared to go ahead. I've lived there. I know what it's like. I remember Tolstoy one time. He wrote something. He said, I couldn't go ahead, I couldn't go back, and I couldn't stay where I was. Have you ever been there? God, I've been there. That's not a nice place to be. I can't go ahead, I can't go back, and I can't stay where I am. I hate the way I'm living. I'm afraid to change it, and I can't go back to where I was. That's an awful way to live. Do you know a lot of people live like that? Have you ever wondered why they get sick? Have you ever wondered why a person 30 years old drops dead with a heart attack? You see? That's why. They have never figured that out. You can teach this to a kid. It's important you understand this. People hit the terror barrier, they bounce. Now, generally when they bounce, they go right back there into bondage, and they don't even try for a long time. God, that was so scary, it just, I just can't even think about doing this anymore. Okay. The terror barrier is the paradigm. It's the paradigm. It's the composition of habits that's keeping you frozen where you are. I remember I said, get in your own business. I said, quit doing this for somebody else. So she started her own business. She spent all kinds of money. It cost her over $100,000 to open this office. And she was right up to here, And I would find her sometimes trying to figure out, where'd she go? And I'd go in the bedroom. She'd be in bed with the covers right over her head. This is a true story. And I said, what are you doing? I can't handle it. I just can't handle it. And I'd say, well, then quit. Yeah, quit. The covers would come off and away she'd go again. Now, what she really wanted me to do is get under the covers with her and hold on to her and say, honey, don't you feel bad. You're going to do okay. But she wouldn't grow, would she? Everybody reacts to the terror barrier a little different. You see, I used to get drunk. Oh, yeah, I did. And I'd stay that way for a long period of time. And, of course, that caused all kinds of problems, Listen, everybody, some people eat. They just eat. Some break out in rashes. I knew that if I didn't deal with him, I might as well quit going because he just ruined everything. And so I mustered up the courage, and I went into the meeting this day, and sure enough, Gardner shows up. Man, you talk about being scared. I was scared. But anyway, I couldn't show it, you see. I guess you do, but you don't. And so I got in there, and he started to cut up. And I went back, and I stood right in front of him. And I said, you know something? You've got to be the dumbest I've ever met in my life. And I stared him right in the eye. And you could just see his muscles and his jaws and everything tightening up. And I didn't know if he was going to drop me or what he was going to do. And then he started to laugh. And I said, you know something? I can earn it faster than you can steal it. And you got to talk their language. They don't call guards guards, they're screws. I said, you know something? If I tell that screw to open the door, he's got to open the door. You know what he's going to do? If I tell him to open the door, he's going to lock you up again. And you're going to stay locked up until I come back next month. And you're telling me you're smart? You are a dumb guy, you know. And you know, that moment, that man changed. He changed. They paroled him to me. No, they did. They did. I hired him, and I was opening an office in England, and he was the best employee I had. And I went down to the National Parole Board, and I was hammering on the desk, and I said, you've got no right to keep that guy on parole. I said, you said that you're trying to change them? He's changed. They tore up his 7-year parole. He had to report to city police every week. He had to report to the Mounties every month. And they tore that up and gave him his passport. When I left England, I sold the office. He stayed there for about 3 or 4 months until the fellow that took it over got used to it. And then he moved back. His wife had a little girl while he was in prison. They were, for all intents and purposes, they were apart. He came back to Toronto. He was not allowed to go to Windsor. He had to stay in Toronto. And a priest from the prison went to see her and got her to come back with him. And he accepted that little girl as if it was his. And she lived with him until he passed away. This guy changed like night and day. You know something? That was a terror barrier he went through. There's a funny side to this story. John Canary does seminars with me, and John was working with me, and John was working with him. And we were bragging about just how much Joe changed. Never stole anything anymore. And we went to his funeral, and he's sitting there, laying in the coffin, and he's got Canary's cufflinks on. Canary said, he's wearing my cufflinks. But I said, well, that's not too bad. I said, he did pretty good. But you see, I have seen what we're going to talk about here work with a lot of people. I've seen it work with kids in school. You saw we had a dozen kids standing on a stage in Kansas City. You know, I only worked with them 1 hour a week for 12 weeks. And those kids got on stage in Kansas City at a Team Diamond event in front of 10 or 12,000 people. How many were at that event? Quite a few of you. Well, if you weren't there, you missed something. Because you saw 12 teenagers just as confident as anybody you've ever saw. And they were teaching the audience what they knew about the mind. And the audience was taking notes. So it goes from the teenagers, once a week for an hour for 12 weeks, to Joe Gardner. We've gone into companies and watched the sales go up by hundreds of millions of dollars. So when I tell you that we're going to be doing 20,000 new wellness consultants a month, believe me, I'm not going to do it. You're going to do it. But across North America, that's what's going to happen. We're just going to shift the thinking and go through the terror barrier. Now let's take a look at this. Can I change the paradigm? And the absolute yes. Yes, you can change the paradigm. Now just see, when you see that, you have hope. That's what Ray Stanford did for me. He gave me hope. I honestly believed I was stuck. That the thought of winning didn't ever even enter my mind. I just figured that this is the way it is. I had losing, I was always losing, and I never thought it would change. When you have hope, that means you have options. Then you decide how many pins you're going to break. Not whether you're going to or not, how many. Let's hear that idea. You make 10 calls, you get 3 appointments, and you make 1 sale. I have never bought into that kind of jazz. Earl Nightingale said, if you see a large group of people going that way, you see 1 or 2 going that way, follow the 1 or 2. Why not, instead of 10 calls, 3 appointments, 1 sale, why 1 call, 10 sales? Wouldn't that make a lot more sense? Why do we think of recruiting 1 person a month or 2? How about 50 a month? Let's say, well, you couldn't look out. What do you mean you can't look after them? You could look after 100 a month. All you have to do is figure out how to do it. How about group learning? How about mass educating? There's millions of people in this country, and everybody wants what you've got. Let's change the paradigm. Let's get a new idea and start operating with it. We've got options. We really do have options. Now, how can our paradigm be changed? Well, here's how it can be changed. And make no mistake about it. It's a lifetime commitment to a daily program of self-improvement. Because understand this, when you stop improving, you're stuck again. It's a lifetime commitment to a daily program of self-development. I mean, you eat every day. You have a shower every day. You brush your teeth every day, comb your hair every day. Some of you are involved in physical exercise program every day. Well, Napoleon Hill said, what a different story people would have to tell if they would adopt a definite purpose and stand by that purpose until it had time to become an all-consuming purpose. Do you know that's what William Todd did last year? That's exactly what he did. I phoned him one day and he wasn't there. I was talking to his mother, and I was talking to his mother about how much he had changed. And she said she couldn't get over how much he changed. I talk a lot about reacting or responding. I say William was the patron saint of reacting. Everything that happened, he reacted. He hardly ever reacts anymore. He was talking about his gold card going to Brussels and back. There's a book by Thomas Troward that the article for Spirit of Opulence came out of. And it's 100 years old. And I've had the book 2 or 3 times, and I give it away to somebody. And I was saying to Gina one day, I should really get a copy of that. Well, Gina found an original copy, and she gave it to me. And I took it with me on the trip I was going to read when we went over to Europe. And I pulled it out and I showed it to William. I said, look what Gina gave me. And he says, could I read it? I said, sure. You know. So I give it to him to read. And he said, I'll read it while we're on the trip, which he did. We got to Copenhagen, and we were flying over to Helsinki. And he'd read, and then we'd talk for a while, and we were brainstorming back and forth. And we got into Helsinki, and we got into our room in the Arthur Hotel. And it was actually the Y. I mean, I had a hard time believing I was there. And I knew I attracted it, and that really bothered me, you know. And I thought, it's the company I'm keeping, I'm sure. That's 2. Oh, I'm going to get this back, I know. But at any rate, I go into his room to see if his was as bad as mine. And he says, I really screwed up. I said, what do you mean? He said, I left your book on the plane. I thought, well, see, I really believe everything's where it's supposed to be. I do. I believe everything's where it's supposed to be. Linda doesn't always believe that, but I believe that. You know. She does most of the time. You know. And so I said that to William. I said, well, the book's where it's supposed to be. I said, oh, phone lost and found. I said, okay. So at any rate, we did what we were doing, and we got to the airport in Helsinki to leave. We were going back to Copenhagen, and we were just ready to go through customs or security or something. He said, wait here for a minute. And he went away, and about 10 minutes later, he came back with a big grin on his face, and he's got the book. It had been to Brussels, and it came back, it was still on the seat. And somebody found it, and he had his gold card and his purpose and everything in it, got it all back. The book was where it was supposed to be. Linda had ordered 4 Lead the Field programs for a Sigrid, a lawyer, a lady in her group in Germany. And so I got there, and she came out to the meeting, and she asked me, she said, do you want to take this money back to Linda? And I said, well, they don't usually trust me with the money, but I said, okay, I'll take it back. And so there was $800 in American money in an envelope, so I folded it up and I put it in another envelope. And I don't know where that envelope is. Then I got home and I said, you know, that I don't know where it is. Now, I was talking to Diane on the phone, and she says, there's probably a real happy maid in a hotel somewhere, you know. But you know something? That's probably what she needed, you know. She probably needed that, and Linda didn't need it anyway. So, I mean, it wasn't my money. I mean, why would I get upset? You know? But the point is, if you react to situations, the situation's in control. If I had got upset over the book, or if William had got upset over the book, in fact, if he had got upset, he probably wouldn't have got it back, because he wouldn't have even thought of going to Lost and Found. If we got upset over the $800, I mean, that isn't going to bring the $800 back, so what's the point in getting upset? So then the $800 is in charge of you. Well, William used to react to everything, and he stopped. And you know why he stopped? He got a purpose. He locked into a vision, and he bit the bullet, and he went through the terror barrier, and he set a big goal. And then he has stuck to it religiously. He has done a phenomenal job. Now, I see people do that. I don't see it do it often, but it does happen. You see, research indicates a very small percentage of the population establish effective goals. The research also indicates that only a small percentage of the group that do establish their goals achieve them. Now, you have to ask why. So, what we want to do is look at why. Most people don't use their imagination when they're setting a goal. What they actually use, get this thing working, is this thing here. They use their reasoning factor. They do not use their imagination. Now, this is rather sad, but it's what happens. All right? So, I always say that most people are extras in their own movies, you know? And they are. We write our own movie, and we can be the star. We don't need to be the supporting actor. We can be the star in our movie. We can see ourselves living the life that we really want to live. But first we have to decide, what do we really want? If you're taking notes, put want in big letters on the page. Very few people understand that. They don't go after what they want. They really don't. What do? They go after what they know they can do. They repeat their present results. Now, it's important that we understand this. You are attracted to people that are in harmony with you. When you're with people that are not in harmony with you, you are very uncomfortable and possibly very unhappy. If the people you're with are not on your frequency, you're not comfortable in their presence. That's why you find poor people all living in the same neighborhood, wealthy people living in the same neighborhood. You'll find intellects hanging out together, and, on and on we go. Now, we have a tendency to attract people into our life, and we're attracted into theirs that we're in harmony with. Those people are comfortable with you. They don't want you to leave. When you go to leave, they don't want you to leave. Now, if we wire them up to a polygraph and ask them, do you want this person to win? They'd say yes, and they'd be telling the truth. I want you to win, but I don't want you to leave. People do not resist change. People resist being changed. If I decide to change, I'll change. If I decide you're going to change and I try and force it upon you, a big barrier will come down between us. When you go to leave the group you are with, you're forcing them to change. They have to adapt to your absence, and they don't want to. So you're not going to get support if you go to leave this group. Now, we like going to do things we know how to do because there's no risk. I mean, I'm not going to look bad. I'm not going to fail. I might be able to win, but I'm not going to try. I might be able to, but I'm not going to try because I might look bad. And I don't want to look bad. I mean, you'd laugh at me. You would laugh. You'd laugh at me if I failed. This goes on in our head. This was programmed in. Now, what are you trying that for? It's better to be safe than sorry. It's not better to be safe than sorry. It's better to be sorry than safe. At least step out and give it a whirl. If you're going to just go after what you know how to do, and that's what many wellness consultants are doing, you're always going to get the same results. Now, what would we do? Well, if we're going to leave that group, we get sort of sick of it there, where do we go? Well, we approach this pretty methodically. I mean, we really think about this because there's risk involved, you see. And so we start to, what do I think I could do? And so we get our pen out, and we think, well, if I could get Harry to, I might be able to get him to do 1,400. And if I got Betty to do, and I'm looking at all my people, well, she's not going to do anything anyway, you know. And no, we do this. We do it. We figure it out. We're doing what we think. I think I could get 1 silver. I don't know if I could do it this month, but maybe I can. I think maybe I can. Okay. Listen, this is what we do. Now, we got a plan. We're going to go diamond. I got it all mapped out. How many silvers do you need? 16. But I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it. And I got it all planned out. I got it drawn out. Draw it out, draw it out. They tell you, draw it out. And so you get the chart. And you get the plan. And then you put it on computer and you do it really nice. And you get graphs. And you get pie charts, and you get color printer. You go over to Kinko's, and then you get a beautiful folder, and you go to an office supply, and you get the folder, and you got the folder, and it really looks good, and you think, I'm going to do it. I got the folder. Harvard tells you got to have a plan. Go try to borrow money at a bank without a plan. You got to have a plan. You're not a responsible business person if you don't have a plan. So you got the plan. And you're going after what you think you can do. Now, you don't do this too often, but you do it. You wander up to what you want to do, but you got to fantasize. And, of course, you've been taught you're not to do that. I mean, you've got to be realistic. You know, fantasies for kids. When you're a kid, you could fantasize. You know, you could play with the pots and pans, turn them into flying saucers if you wanted. You know, and it got you out from under your mother's feet. I mean, and that was okay. She's not going to hurt anything. Everything's fine. Just leave them there. Don't bother them. They're doing all right. And the kid's taking a trip. They're exercising their imagination. They see things that somebody has never seen in their whole life. And that's okay. Until they go to school. And then the teacher comes down and slams their fist on the desk. The kid almost pees themselves. And they are scared. They are really scared. And if they keep this up, they get punished. They stay after school. You're just a bad boy. I'm sending a note home to your mother if you don't pay attention. Kid's bad. You know what he was doing? Exercising the greatest gift God gave us. Has to be strengthened. I mean, you couldn't imagine a parent keeping a child laying in bed. Can't move your feet. Don't move your feet. You strengthen your muscles. You might be able to walk if you do that. Okay. Or we understand it physically, but we don't understand it mentally. We let them exercise their imagination until they go to school, and then a teacher comes along, stop that. So the kid stops. And they spend the rest of their life going from what they know how to do to what they think they can do. But there's no inspiration there, and they're not getting any support. And so they finally get fed up, and they come back down here again. And they go to a meeting in Team Diamond, and they get all pumped up, and so they decide to try it again. But it doesn't work. And they get sick of doing this, and they come back down here, and that's where they stay then, just doing what they know how to do. 4 years later, they're still there. You see? Earl Nightingale said, this is why Success for most people remains a puzzle. Now, if you're going to win in the can or in any other business, you must follow this creative process. And there is no other way. There is only one way. You've heard that straight is the gate and narrow is the way that leadeth unto life, growth, and few there be who find it. Why? People don't think. They're ignorant. They don't know, and they don't even know they don't know. And so they stay stuck. Could they do it? They're endowed with more power than you could describe. If you're going after what you want, you've got to fantasize. So you build a fantasy. What did Wolfgang do? He built a fantasy. He said, 2.5 years from now, I will be a royal ambassador. And 2.5 years later, he was a royal ambassador. He went further, faster than anybody in the history of the company. But it was a fantasy when he first started. He said, I had a diamond. I was a diamond, but it wasn't strong. Now, you see, we are the only creature on the planet that is able to fantasize. Nobody else can do it. Just us. We have the ability to tap into an infinite source of supply, pure, unadulterated spirit, and bring it into our consciousness and build any picture we want. That's how the Wright brothers got off the ground. That's how Edison built the light. That's how Hillary got to the top of the mountain. That's how this company was built. That's how this hotel was built. Bill Marriott started out, took his wife, when they first got married, went over to D.C. and bought an A&W franchise. That's where Marriott started. But he didn't plan selling hot dogs forever. He had a dream, you see. He also had an understanding. And that's what you need. You need an understanding. This is, without question, the best vehicle I have seen in 38 years. You've got to then turn your fantasy into a theory. A theory is an idea in your consciousness. You've got to give it serious consideration. You do not have to know how it's going to happen. Common sense and understanding would tell you you don't know how it's going to happen if you knew it would have happened. The fact that you're not there tells you you don't know how it's going to happen. You don't have to know how it's going to happen. But I'm going to tell you something. Before you can turn that theory into a goal, you must ask yourself 2 questions. You have to ask yourself, am I able? You know, that doesn't say you've got to know how it's going to work. Am I able? Every religion teaches you that you have infinite power. All science teaches you you have infinite power. If we want to go into it in great depth, we could prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt in our own mind. Yeah, we're able to do it. There is no question about are we able to do it. Stop and think of what you are able. You're able to write your name. Have you any idea the number of electrical charges have to go through this instrument that you're living in for the sole purpose of writing your name? Do you know that the blood in your body circulates through hundreds of miles of passageway every 33 seconds? It carries all the food in, all the garbage out in one sweeping change. We don't even hardly know anything about ourselves. Am I able? I am endowed with power beyond the scope of my imagination. The most erudite scientist alive will not even guess at what you're capable of doing. I think we have to agree we're able to do it. What? Whatever we can imagine. Napoleon Hill put it very well. He said you wouldn't be able to get the idea if you couldn't do it. Keb Mo, a blues singer, he said dreams are more than dreams. Dreams are messages telling you what you can do. The second question you have to ask, am I willing? Am I willing to do what Elsa has done? Am I willing to study those lessons? Am I willing to get my group on the phone and review them? Am I willing to quit hanging around with the same people that are doing nothing? Am I willing to break away from the group? Am I willing to do whatever my downline wants me to do to help them? Am I willing to simulate my presentation until I have become an absolute master at it? Well, if you're going after what you want, you should be willing. Now, if the answer to both those questions are yes, your theory just turned into a goal. Now, if you really understand the divinity that's locked up within you, you will know that you are a part of the whole scheme of things. And you've got to understand, when you take that idea and impress it upon your subconscious mind, you have impressed it upon universal intelligence, and instantly the law goes to work. One of the first laws of the universe is the perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy moves into form, through form, and back into form. It instantly begins to move into form. In religion, they call that prayer. The movement that takes place from the non-physical to the physical with and through us. And all prayers are answered. Most people are praying for what they don't want. They don't understand that. Prayer isn't getting down and talking. That's making a noise on your knees. Prayer is a mental process that takes place. We've been given the faculties to do it. We've got to understand that. The second you impress that, it instantly begins to move into physical form. And your fantasy has become a fact. Now that is learning. It's the feedback from the experience that's the learning experience. Then you will be in a position to build bigger and better fantasies. And folks, that's called a creative process. A creative process. Now, let's look at this again. Let's forget about the know what to do and what you think you can do, and let's get into the fantasy. Let's see it. See what it is you want, but you've got to really want it. Now, when the want comes to your consciousness, don't push it away because you haven't got the money. You don't need the money. Don't push it away because you don't have the resources. You don't have the people. You've got a weak downline here and there. None of that matters. Yet, can you see it? If you can see it, that's all that's required. You've got to let yourself see what you want. See what you want. See yourself living there. See yourself building the organization. You've got to believe it. Do you know your belief system is based upon your evaluation of something? It took me a long time to understand this, but through reading this material, through studying that program, Lead the Field, and I have studied that for years. I've got a picture. I'll publish it one day in one of our newsletters, where I'm standing with my hands on the Lead the Field program when I would be about 35. I was teaching it to corporations then. And the addition you've got is as a result of me teaching it to the Nightingale Conant Corporation and changing Vic Conant's life, Lloyd's son. And that's when they asked me to record what I had done, what I had taught. And that's what you've got. You see, the more you study, the more you're going to believe. The more you know about you, the more you're going to believe in you. I didn't believe in me because I didn't know me. I didn't know anything about me. I didn't know who I was. And if you don't know you, you can't believe in you. Now keep looking here. Then you've got to do it. You've got to step out and do it. Now look here for a moment. Do you think that guy knew how he was going to get to the top of that wall? He didn't know how to get to the top of that wall. He just knew he would get to the top of the wall. Yet because he had the picture of himself at the top of the wall that he was going to get to the top of the wall. Just see, you only see the next step that's necessary to get you to where you're going. He would think, I'll put this axe in here, this pick in here, this foot here, and he steadies himself. He adapts to the conditions and circumstance and environment he finds himself in. Then he sees his next step. I'll put this pick here, this foot here, and that's how he goes to the top of the wall. You have to know where you're going, and you have to know that you'll get there. It's always been that way. Wernher von Braun, when John Kennedy asked him what it would take to build a rocket to carry a man safely to the moon and bring him back to Earth, he said, the will to do it. What will it take you to build a real strong organization, to stay on course, not a little bit of effort this month and then next month? You get halfway to silver and quit. You don't even start going to silver until around the 14th of the month. Let's start at the beginning of the month. Let's have the whole thing in the bag by about the 25th. Take the last week off. Get yourself in order. Get things straightened out so that the first of the month away you can go again. It's only 20,000 points. Put a small team together. Say, let's do nothing else until we get the 20,000 in. No theater, no dinner, nothing until we get 20,000. Split that up amongst a half a dozen people. It's nothing. But you don't find people working that way. You know why? They're not going after what they want. They don't have a reason. When you really want something, you'll do it. But you got to really want it. Nightingale said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Now let's look here. There you are there. You impress the why idea. And you have to go through the wall. Now, Thoreau said, if a person will advance confidently in the direction of their dream and endeavor, just give it your best shot. You fall off track? Yeah, sometimes you do. You endeavor to live the life you've imagined. You will meet with success unexpected in common hours. One day you're just going to realize it happened. It just happened. So here we are. You impress the why, and you crash through that wall. Now you've impressed the why once, you impress it twice, you impress it 3 times. You've got to keep impressing the why idea. Because you see, as long as the X energy is still there, it's going to cause you problems. It's going to continue to cause you problems. Now look at this for a moment. Let's say this is the X energy, and this is the Y energy. If I impress Y upon X, I've affected X, haven't I? I've weakened it. Would you agree? Okay? I have weakened it, haven't I? Can you see the difference? No, you can't. You can't. Your eyes deceive you. Don't be deceived. God is not mocked. Whatever you sow, that's what you're going to reap. Now you've got to keep impressing this, even though people are telling you you're crazy. You've got to keep reading the articles. Why do I tell you to read it 3 times a day for a month? Why do you think? What did Thoreau say? He said, if a person will advance confidently in the direction of their dream and just endeavor to live the life that they have imagined, they will meet with success unexpected in common hours. Now that person went through the terror barrier. You know something? You've got to go through that terror barrier every day. Every day. The terror barrier doesn't go away because you went through it. It scares the daylights out of you. You're afraid to call on people? Calling on them once isn't going to cause the fear to go away. It's going to keep going, going to keep going, going to keep going. But you know that if you keep doing this, now I learned this from personal experience. It took me a long time, but it actually happened. I was driving around with a battery-operated record player. And I was playing the same record over and over and over. And I was reading that book over and over and over. And you know something? One day, you're going to be driving along, and you're going to do it, and boom, it's all changed. Just like that. The X is all gone. You see, you don't even notice it happening, but the X is there, and it's gone. And you're a totally different person. And you never have to go back. And you're not scared anymore. That's why I say confidence is strength with style. It's really special. I remember when it happened to me. And you know something? For 40 years, I've been having people telling me they don't believe it. They don't trust me. Why are you doing this? And that bothered me for a long time. It really bothered me. You see? And then I started to realize they don't know. So you forgive them because they don't know what they're saying. I've got people in Team Diamond, they said, I don't trust that guy. Why is he doing this? It doesn't bother me anymore. It used to bother me. It doesn't bother me anymore. They say, why are you doing that? Well, it's just the way I do it, you know. And you see, if you just give it, it's all going to come back. I'm living in a healthy body. I don't get sick. I can go as fast as anybody in this room. In fact, you'll probably wear out before me. I don't wonder whether I'm going to win. I know I'm winning. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. You got to keep doing it. You just got to keep doing it. And you see, if you will persist, you got to keep reading those articles. You just got to keep reading them. You got to go to the meetings. Now, you want to make up your mind, you will never go to another wellness preview without a prospect. Why would you go without? This is not a prayer group. This doesn't make any sense to go alone. Why would you go alone? Do you want to know why? Part of the paradigm. Almost everybody goes alone. Well, you should go. But why? Why? Well, you have to hear it. I've already heard it. I haven't learned a lot. I'm doing what everybody else is doing. I'm not doing anything. Let's make up our mind. If we're going to go, we take a half a dozen people with us. They say, what's it about? Say, it's everything you want. That's what it's about. It's about earning all kinds of money. It's about having time and money freedom. Why do you know most of the people that I know there that are making it happen? They don't work hard. They have tens of thousands of dollars coming in every month. They travel all over the world. They work when they want. Why would you go to a wellness preview alone? How about a business meeting where we're selling an opportunity? These products are so good, you don't even have to hardly talk about them. I ain't got to talk about the product. You got to talk about the product. I'll go ahead and talk about the product. You know. If you haven't got a good product, the company doesn't stay in business. This company's got phenomenal products. These products have been tested by people a lot smarter than us. That's what you need to do. You've got to get through there. You've got to make the connection between your mind and your prospect's mind. And you want to make sure your mind is clear. You want to make sure that your mind is directed. You want to make sure that you have the proper image, that you've got order in here, because that's what you're going to give to them. And you know, if you just spent about 15 minutes a day really getting your presentation, don't say, I don't like to sell. Everybody's selling. Selling isn't doing something to people, it's doing something for people. It's leading a person in a path of agreement. You see? Selling is the most honorable profession in the world. Nothing happens until somebody sells something. You see? Before you can do something, you first must be something. It's got to happen inside first. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you take these calls serious, take these calls super serious, you will be on them every week. You'll be on time, and you'll do what we suggest. If you don't have an application, you can't sign a person up. You've got to carry applications. You should always have at least two, because when you use one, then you still got one. You see? Begin to think, feel, and act like the person you want to become. So there's the deal. The power flows in. Number one, the conscious mind builds a new image. Number two, the subconscious mind accepts it. Number three, the body expresses it. The image you impress upon your subconscious mind controls your vibration, and your vibration controls what you attract. I would suggest you read that article on vibration about 100 more times. The gold card you should carry loose in your purse or your pocket. I would feel naked without my gold card. I really would. I've been carrying one now for over 40 years. And if I put my hand in my pocket and it's not there, I got sort of a panic feeling. I know I'm losing. The only thing that can grow is the thing you give energy to. Okay? Now you can earn $1 million, and I would suggest that you become part of this millionaires club. You become one of the 10,000 healthy millionaires. 15 minutes a day. Get the idea of money burned in your mind. You can do a lot more good with money than you ever could without it. Money isn't to accumulate. Money's not to store somewhere. Money enables you to extend the service that you render beyond your own presence. You can duplicate yourself many times with money. I was talking to a man last night who has many millions. And he was asking if I thought he should go after more. And I said, absolutely. I said, I never knew a millionaire who didn't want another million. And I said, he talked about his kids. And I said, why don't you help other kids? I said, your kids are an extension of you. As you could help kids all over the world. That'd be a good cause. See? Now, just imagine. It's your imagination that you want to get going. You want to make up your mind you're going to be one of these 10,000. And I'll tell you something. It'll happen long before the year 2010. You can make book on that. It's going to happen. Something is stirring in this company. And if you're at all sensitive to vibration, you feel it. Now, I personally believe that if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up way too much room. Okay? I want to thank you for your attention. And I want to thank William for giving me the opportunity to do what work we're doing. I mean, he and I are the biggest winners out of this. And then Reed joined it, and Roger joined it. You're taking up way too much room. Just a big bang out of it. And a lot of people are being helped. Now, if that just originated from an idea William had, do you know that the tour originated from William's idea? He was the one that originated the idea for Australia, and then Australia flowed over to here. He phoned me one day, and he said, make a tape. So I got a hold of John Weistrom in Chicago, and we got a hold of Pat Barry, and we made the tape. And the CD went down there, and it was all over the place, and before long, it flew over to here. Now, I want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank you for coming on that call. And I want to encourage you to get on the call and stay on the call. If you haven't registered on 10,000 Healthy Millionaires, you want to register. There's something good going to start to happen on that. And I'd suggest you get in it as quickly as possible. Is William in the room?
Yeah, right here.
All right. Well, William, I want to thank you.
Let's hear it for Bob.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fabulous job.